Welcome to another edition of the Spotlight interview series. I am so delighted because today I get to introduce you to one of my favorite people in Hong Kong, who also is one of my amazing clients and has been at least for this last year. And so welcome so much to the Spotlight interview series, Dee Cheung.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a cool opportunity to share. Yeah. I was so excited when you're like, come and do a spotlight interview. I'm like, what's a spotlight interview? I want to be in the spotlight. Okay.
Well, and I am so excited for everyone. Like, it's one of those things, when you love someone so much and you just adore them and you're like, oh my God, if everyone could get a little taste of the sunshine that is Dee Cheung, like I just absolutely adore her. So Dee was one of the first people that I met in Hong Kong. I guess mostly like I got really lucky to be just kind of thrown into this yoga community as soon as I got here. No surprise, right? Like the conscious people, we all just like magnetized to each other. And I met you early on, but we kind of just didn't really like know each other, but then finally had an opportunity to like really connect. And I was so grateful for that. You were also really busy at the time. You were like planning a wedding and everything that was happening. So, but I will say, I'll share one little fun story, which it kind of just summarizes so much of like my love for Dee. Was when I first met her and then got to see her again, one of the ways that Chris and I would remind Chris of who Dee was. I was like, do you remember the amazing hugger? That's Dee. And being a professional hugger myself, like that's a big compliment. So we loved you from the start. And then, and so just going back to that time, actually, it was probably we did so much at the beginning. I had already done one of your sup yoga retreats, I think. And so there's so many things. So actually, let's even stop right here and give an opportunity for you to give yourself like an official introduction, like share all the awesome things that you are up to in this world.
Okay. My name is Dee. I'm originally from Toronto and I've been in Hong Kong for just over 10 years. And I never thought in a million years that I would be running sup yoga, let alone teaching yoga and trying to pursue that or pursuing that anyway as my career, as I'm doing now. So that's kind of the long and short. I've also opened a float therapy center, the very first one in Hong Kong with my husband. And in that same time that we opened Float On, I was also pregnant and birthed a baby recently. Well, not so recently anymore. I feel like I can't use that anymore.
Yeah, she's getting big.
Yeah, she's getting big. She's 8 months old now. And I'm just diving back into teaching full time, and really everything that I'm doing has the same thread going through it. It's just about how can I best serve and help people get out of pain. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. Yeah. So we had already done some fun sup yoga and we'd already done some really fun stuff. And then there was, I think it was actually probably
a lot of beach time.
Say again.
A lot of beach time.
Yeah, a lot of beach time. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to have you introduce me to like the wonderful beaches in Hong Kong and being able to play and be in your body. I'd done yoga, of course, forever. But then for anyone who doesn't know as well, SUP, it means stand-up paddleboard. So you're actually doing yoga on a paddleboard out in the middle of the ocean, which is so fun. We'd done all that. And then I think it was about a year ago that I had put on a webinar and you had joined, and I was filling this small group program that I do every year. And, it was really one of those questions that a lot of people have of like, do I work with my friends? And once Dee had heard me talk about like, yeah, I totally work with all of my friends, like no problem. And she was like, okay, good. Cause I really think that I want to work with you. And so that was really fun. And the opportunity was just perfect timing because she ended up stepping into my small group coaching program last year.
Yep. I was, that was one of my biggest concern. I mean, cause you were a great hugger from the start and I knew what you did. And I really wanted to work with somebody and have a coach, and it seemed really fitting to be in a mastermind. I was so glad that we had that conversation. I remember saying it to you, like, So is it going to be weird, like that we're friends, but you're also my coach? And it was obviously not weird at all because it's so easy, It's just
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, even I'd love, for you to share now that even we're like a year in and a solid, gosh, I mean, almost probably 2 years in terms of our friendship and all the fun things that we've done. And so even just share that like now, like, so there was that before, but now after, what have you seen to be true?
What have I seen to be true? Well, you're still my friend, obviously. And it's not just about like when we're in our coaching calls, obviously you're there as my coach and like somebody that I can turn to. But on the flip side, when we just hang out, we're still just friends. Like we just talk about other stuff. And like, I'm so grateful that I can be there to support you too, and it works two ways. And what a gift to be able to be in a community, be in a group of people that you call your friends that are also your support network.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
think so many people worry that it's going to like somehow change the friendship. And I think that we've just really seen that if anything, it has just strengthened it in so many ways. And, there's nothing that you can't, talk to me about. And I think that's the thing that I feel so honored by is that my friends see the value like that. Yeah. That it's not only, and also I love that I literally can tell my clients, like, I love you, like, and that it's so genuine and so real on so many levels. And that's the thing, like we're in each other's lives so intimately when we are working together in a coaching relationship. And so, yeah, this becomes like your major, friend regardless. And so it's funny, like so many people I feel like say that they have to keep that separate. And I don't play that game, I haven't found that to be true. It's not the kind of coach I am anyway. So yeah, you're a beautiful testament to that. And so take us back, like even, back then, like you said, you were kind of wanting a coach of some sort. And if you can recall, like what were some of the challenges or the things that you were wanting some support with in the beginning?
Well, I've never like opened a business, a physical business from the start, from scratch, let alone working with my husband, who I'm with 24/7. And I really felt like I wasn't sure how to put up boundaries or, what was the best way for us to like work together and putting in systems. And yeah, I really needed support in honoring my time and how to manage my time. Because I'm pretty good at just saying yes to everything and taking it all on and just getting on with it. But then it's not actually serving me because I just get so depleted. So it was great to have that. I was also looking for support because, I got pregnant.
Yeah.
And that was
so
also,
talk about that. Like this
that
is
was
something.
also a big part. Yeah, that was really the biggest part because I remember we were having a conversation just one-on-one prior to the group starting, and you were just checking in on me like, are you sure you want to dive into this for a year? Because I was probably only 6 or 7 months pregnant at that point. And I said, yeah, I do, because I want to know that I'm not just going to have a baby and like, that's just my life, because it's so common anyway among women, because I've worked with them teaching mommy baby yoga, that they really feel like they've lost a part of themselves. And I definitely went through that as well myself after having our baby. And it was so great to have adult time. I called it my adult hour. It was my adulting hour where I could say, cool, I'm not going to have to worry about the baby. I can just focus on whatever I'm doing, or just even if it's one little task to push our business forward. Or how am I going to get back into teaching? How am I going to get, can I go back to teaching, and all the other self-limiting things that were going on in my mind at the time. And I was going through that 4th trimester. I went through the baby blues and have really bad days, and then I'd have really good days. So having the support was, I think, a really great decision in supporting me in the last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I mean, and just like you said, I'm somebody that on any complimentary consult, I'll definitely be the first to be like, I don't know if this is right, or, tell someone. And so yeah, I checked in with you. I remember a few times like, are you sure? And there's so many, I think, other coaches or business people to be like, cool, I'll just take your money, no problem. But I was like, sister, do you realize your life is just about to change like dramatically? Like you're gonna have a baby. Like, are you sure? And she was totally in, and it was so cool to see because, and actually what's funny is Faith, who I have had on the series as well already, she also had a 4-month-old when she stepped into working with me. And it's one of these things where your life and your business doesn't stop as much as it certainly like wholly consumes you, no doubt, but that as a creative person and as a small business owner, it's still there. So you still need to be showing up to it. And even more so, I would say you need that support while you're in it because you've got enough going on. You're learning how to be a mom for the first time and all the things, right?
Yeah, there were definitely calls in those first few months where I'd be like, sorry guys, got to turn the video off. I just got to breastfeed, but I'm here.
Which is so great. Breastfeeding is totally allowed on coaching calls. Yeah, I loved that, and it was so true. And so it was really cool too, even because everyone else in our small group got to watch baby Maya, like got to watch, Dee go through like being pregnant, even more pregnant, and then have the baby. And we got to meet baby Maya and watch baby Maya as she's grown, because she usually she's like our little business owner coming on the call and like representing, checking in. Yeah. So
she showed up on a week where we didn't even have a call, so I didn't miss any calls. Being in labor.
It was perfect. You were like, "Oh, perfectly timed." Yeah, and then you just made it work, and that's exactly right. I really saw you utilizing it as like, it was your opportunity to come back into, what you were still working on, or even processing, or having things going on, or even, at that time too, your husband Kieran he ended up joining the group as well, and so he was in it as well. And so at minimum, you were providing even a lot of support to him. Like you guys are still working as a team, bouncing ideas off of each other. So even for you guys to be in the group together was really, really awesome to be able to support each other and then receive the support from me and the rest of the people in the group.
Yeah, for sure. And like at that beginning point, definitely it was great. Like we thought maybe it would be weird. And then we were like, actually, no, because we're working on the same goals and, we're both responsible for different things. And so it never felt like, oh, like we're both here, but like we're both being supported for different things, you know?
Well, and I really even I feel like this whole year, right? Like regardless even of the group, but like, definitely even on the group gave you guys such this other opportunity, almost like a mediator, or having other people in it with you, where you guys weren't always having to talk about the business, just you guys, but that you had these other people that you could talk to and get feedback. And then, even sometimes that we'd be working with Kieran, you would be able to be like, oh, I have something to say about this, and like be able to like, come in, but not just you two, that sometimes can, I think, be hard in a relationship, but really be able to bring it to the call and get other perspectives. Do you feel like, you tell me, do you feel like that was supportive for you?
Yeah, definitely. Because, I was just so consumed with being home. And, when we could, or when we had time to talk about the business, like I wasn't always there, and he knew that and didn't want to put so much on my plate. And so he would refrain from filling me on things until we were on the call. And I'd be like, hold up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think even vice versa, that was something that we even supported Kieran with, was, to really be able to speak up, like, cause, he was also in this new provider role and wanting to work so hard and make sure he was taking care of you, and not putting so much on you. And yet exactly that, like being able to even support him and saying, you need to learn how to ask for support, because that's the whole premise of this whole thing, is like, you can't do everything yourself. We always think we are like the superhuman, and you're pretty damn close to it, Dee, I will say. But ultimately, to be able to bring in support is a game changing,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, share with us. So, we got to welcome baby Maya into the world, which was so incredible. And you survived through that fourth trimester and really got to come back around to finding yourself again, which she wrote a beautiful, beautiful article on, which I can totally link to in the show notes. Because it's for any of new moms or expecting moms out there. It's really, really poignant about how powerful that time, or challenging, I would say, that time is. But then, talk to us a little bit about kind of your re-blooming and your reintegration as you finally started, kind of coming back, and then what you also started opening up to creatively and with your businesses.
Yeah, my own personal rebirth, I suppose. Yeah. So I pretty much stopped teaching a lot once Float On was coming, or once Float On opened, and I knew I was pregnant. I didn't take on new clients. I was just finishing up clients that I had, and then the focus was to let go and just to nourish myself, and then to let nature take its course. And I was very fortunate that I could do that, and Kieran was supportive of me doing that. And now I've had to work through these a lot of self-limiting issues of like, am I really, who's going to want to learn from me? Like, I've just had a baby, and like, I'm just struggling to get back into my body. And actually it's become, and I'm realizing that, these changes, these traumas that you go through physically, these injuries teach you so much. And if anything, has made me even more sensitive and empathetic to my clients that I work with. So I've worked with moms before and taught them some postnatal things, knowing textbook style, anatomical style, like medical style, but not in a full-on empathetic, I've been there, I know it, I got you way.
Right.
And it's really changed from the way that I connect with my clients, which has been so beautiful. Yeah. So while I have Maya, who's my one baby, I have about 17 babies.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And mommies that I work with. And then from there, what I've really seen is that my clients want to learn from me because I can share and impart the knowledge from a yoga perspective to help them get back into their bodies, but also the emotional supportive side of it of, well, I can't do this right now. This is what I've gone through from my birthing experience, whatever has gone on. Like, there is so many, like, no two people's birth stories are the same. And everybody's body goes through so many different things. So yeah, it's really helped me feel confident in coming back and stepping into what I'm doing, and creating these reset retreat weekends, which has been one of my, like, it's almost been like this revelation of like, of course it makes sense. It's pulling in everything that I'm doing already. So if you don't know what it is.
So share a little bit about what it is. And so I had already done one retreat, which was the Sup Yoga retreat. And it was even on this like other little island in Hong Kong, which was so cool and so fun. But these reset retreats that you've done are totally you and totally your yoga. And I got to go to one in December, one of her first ones. And it was awesome. Many of you probably saw me post about it, but yeah, share with everyone what the reset retreat is.
Yeah. So the intention around it is that, at the start of the year or whenever you decide to do them, like, we always set these like grand goals and grand things that like, we're going to do this year. We're like, this is what we're going to do, and then we kind of forget, or life just takes over. And, the whole idea behind the reset retreat is that, no, you can hit the reset anytime you want. You don't have to go to, while it's wonderful to do it, but you don't have to necessarily fly somewhere and go on a retreat for a whole week and, be immersed in yoga, wellness, mindfulness. Like, obviously it's easy to come back and recommit and realign with stuff when you're in that environment. But then you come back again and you leave your retreat and it's like, oh, life just happens again.
Yeah.
So the reason,
like, it doesn't have to be so black or white or so extreme, but
exactly.
You actually integrate it into your life.
Exactly. So it happens over a weekend. It's a Friday evening, a Saturday morning, and then a Sunday evening. And so, people have asked me, like, do I have to refrain from drinking? Like, can I still go out? Do I have to eat vegan this weekend? And I'm like, do whatever you want to do. It's your retreat. And all I'm going to do is guide you through. So I theme them, and I take people through some guided journaling after the yoga classes. We have a light meal. You get 2 floats included in your retreat weekend, which is really amazing. And you get to experience taking your intentions even deeper through floating, because you have that with you when you go into your float. And that's one of the things that we want to encourage people to do before they float, is to set an intention. Yeah. And if you don't want to set an intention, count 3 things that you're grateful for and go into your float thinking about that.
Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. And for those who are just not familiar with what floating is, will you just say a few lines so that they're clear?
Sure. So floating, or known as float therapy, is like a giant bathtub that's filled with warm water that's kept at your surface skin temperature, and 500 kilos of Epsom salts, which allow you to float. You float completely buoyant above the water, and all your muscles can relax. There's no gravity coming up against you, and you just get an hour to yourself with nothing to interrupt you.
Yeah, there are these I've gone floating many times at Float On, which I absolutely love. And there are these huge like pods. And so you close the door, but it's like huge. I mean, you don't even touch the walls or anything. And then you can keep these cool like lights that change colors on, or you can just totally turn them off. And I actually had mine completely off the other night, and even the around the rim lights were off. And so when the float ended and I woke up, it was like pitch dark, and it was just such a cool experience to be like, wow, I literally cannot see any light at all. It was so cool.
Yeah. Well, it's cool for you, but for some people, when they're just starting, it's a scary thing. And what's beautiful about the pods that we have is that you have the option to keep the podlets open. Mm-hmm. You have the lights on or off, and you can have music on the whole time if you like. And if you have a guided meditation, this is more for people that are really getting into their float journeys. Like, I use a lot of different guided meditations now, just because I'm really interested to know like how they can change the way I float. Yeah. And we can upload those for you and set that up for you before you come in. And yeah, it's different every time. It's kind of like just like when you practice yoga, like you could be doing the exact same sequence 2 days in a row, but it'll feel totally different.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really the same with meditation as well. Like, it's like you might meditate every day, and it's like, maybe it's like, or it's even writing as well. I find, it's like you show up to the page, and so it sort of feels like same. But then when you're doing it regularly, usually like every once in a while, you'll just have one that just completely blows you away and takes you and opens and expands you in all different ways. So it's incredibly powerful. And floating in particular as well is like not just for releasing your mind in a very similar way to that meditation does, but it's so incredibly like healing for your body. It's like Epsom salts for anyone who's taken a bath with Epsom salts. It's the same thing. It's this beautiful like magnesium process that helps pull the pain out of your body, helps you sleep more amazing. And it's great for also preggy mamas and like this kind of like they're in the womb and they have the baby in the womb. And so
I met our very first float baby is almost a year old now. So like a client who had floated when we first opened. Yeah. So her baby is almost a year. And just last week I met one of our most recent babies, and he is only 6 weeks old. Wow. Yeah. It's so amazing. Oh. It's so cool to support these mamas when they come in and then meet their babies after. It's so super cool.
So cool. Yeah. And then even coming back to, your connection with yourself and your body and all that you learned, and then coming back into yoga. One thing that I love is your upcoming yoga retreat that I just posted about today. I was like, oh my gosh, all my friends need to go to this. Is the topic and the focus is self-love. And I just think that's so perfect for you and your whole experience in this whole last year. And, even what is at the core of all of my coaching work, as you very well know, is like this self-acceptance and self-compassion in your life and on your journey. So that's so beautiful that you're doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was fitting because it's also February with Valentine's, and Yeah, it's as much as it is great to guide and lead people through these processes. It's something that I've been going through, and I'm still going through and constantly come up against when I'm practicing and moving. And I'm like, how come it doesn't feel the same? Or like, what's going on? And yeah, just reconnecting to my body. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So right now you're doing one-on-one sessions with people and also even small groups, right? Like that, say like you can do one-on-one sessions, but also if there's somebody that has a group of friends and they want to keep each other accountable, you're doing that as well. Yeah.
Yes, I am. I'm opening up my calendar, which is really exciting. I have some calls booked already, and
Great.
just to bring on new clients that want to practice regularly. And what I love about small groups, or even just, couples, even I work with couples a lot, is that you keep each other accountable. Mm-hmm. And I find or sometimes, like if you have a personal coach or like at a gym or something, it's easy to say like, oh, can we reschedule? I'm just feeling a little under today or whatever it is, but when you're in a group, there's this like energy where they're like, come on, let's go. We've got yoga this week. Like we're doing this, and you're consciously carving time out together. And for me, it's so great as a teacher because I create my programs for each of my groups or clients. I look at the group as a whole and what they need. I also look at them individually and try to find out what they need. And then I create a program. And the program only works if they're practicing regularly. If we have 1 week on and then we're off for 2 weeks, it's going to be hard to pick it up and keep going again. It feels like we're always starting over. And so that's why I love small groups or working with, 2 or 3 people even.
I would love to hear, at what point, because I remember, like as we talked about, you were kind of coming back into really wanting to step into your work and your yoga work and everything, and starting to put that together. Like, it's like we can tell everyone now that you were like, yeah, and then you had a baby, and then you were ready to teach yoga again, and then you started doing these retreats, and it like makes that process sound so simple. But give us, right? Give us a window into, your process and kind of even that own transformation. And I know we had some one-on-ones during that time, and talk a little bit about that process for you of clarity and kind of coming to that clarity of what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I think what really kept coming up after I had a baby and having a birth float on as well, that I would encounter people and they would ask me like, so what do you do? What do you do? And I was like, shoot, what do I talk about first? Like yoga, sup, or floating, And
meanwhile, though, everyone needs to know that if you know Dee, every single person in this town is like, hey, Dee, where should I go for this? Hey, Dee, like I have like countless messages where I've been like, hey, where should I go for these flip-flops? Where should I go for this? And so it's like, she is this like main resource and everyone knows who you are. But like, to summarize or be able to put all in one context to what you do was kind of, you were finding hard to explain.
Yeah, it was really hard actually. And I struggled with it a lot. And I used to get paralyzed and not know how to answer. And then I would just like fumble on my words and it would just not come out. And so one of the biggest things that came out of being in the group, and I felt so scared doing it, was actually launching a website. That was super scary because I was like, seriously, something else to birth? Like, I'm so over it. But actually, once we sat down and like talked about what it meant for me to have it, and just like one place where I could direct people, like, even on a business card, like it didn't have to say much. It could just be like, you want to know about me? Like go on the website and you'll know about me, because the website is so clean, super clear. You land and it's like dcheung.com, sup, yoga, float therapy, and that's it. And people can click and they can find out that that's what I'm up to. And if they want to know more, they can write to me, they can subscribe. And it kind of ignited my joy for writing. Like I used to keep blogs on stuff that I was doing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where it's gone now. I wrote a little bit and then I kind of stopped. It's really just finding the time to do it. And I was sharing with you earlier, right now at the moment, it's like everybody's asleep. I'm going to open my laptop just for 20 minutes, and like do some admin. Yeah. So,
well, and what I love about that whole process too, is that this was, and I think that this is on every, creative person's journey, and certainly, you know, the people I work with, and you are very much in this camp, is like, you know, you have something coming through you, and that is, you know, that is the light that we see, that is the gift that you share with your clients, that is why you do all the things that you do, that you are this kind of like innate healer in all the things you do. It comes out in all these different expressions. But what I really saw, and what I know you had to kind of stand in as well, is like you standing in who you are and really owning that. And so you launching that website, I mean, it was the classic things that are so normal, which is like who do I think I am that I can just have my own website, and like, you know, all those things of like really needed to stand in your power. And I remember that was really scary for you in the beginning. Yeah.
Super scary. Yeah. I think it was on one of those calls, I was just like full crying mode the whole hour. I was just like, why, Willow? Why are you making me do this?
I wasn't making you do anything. But the thing is it was like, there was no making you do anything, like, which always.
Because I wanted it. No, I wanted it.
It was knocking on your door, and it's just scary. It's sometimes scary to answer their door, because then what, right? And who's that going to really call you to be, and how are you going to have to show up to that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And right now it's still a process, you know, and I love that it's super organic and that it'll grow as it grows. And yeah, at least it's there and it's living and it's there. Yeah. And I figured out how to
it's already evolving. You know, you already have these new retreats that come out, and now you have a place to put that, and the information can be there. Yeah.
Yeah. It's super cool. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. It's not so scary anymore.
It is so cool. And there was also, you know, being in this, I would love even for you to speak about being in the small group program, because that was also a pinnacle thing. I know that, you know, Faith had helped you with the website. And so just share a little bit about, for those who are even considering stepping into a small group program, like, you know, even what your thoughts were going in, but then what you really learned about being in the group.
Yeah. So at the start of the group, everybody was so different and running such different businesses and kind of at different stages of their business that at first it kind of felt like, oh man, like, how are we going to connect with these people? Like, we're all doing something totally different and we're all in different spaces. And actually it's been so helpful because Faith, who's in our group, she actually helped me, she's hosting my website and helped me set it up and build out my first website. And actually she's also now one of my yoga clients.
Yeah. We're all your biggest fans.
And I've been working with her on, you know, other personal things that she's going through, which is super cool to be able to support her in that way. And somebody, Maya in the group as well, has been super helpful with our website for Float On, you know, and like giving us lots of resources and places that we can go. And I mean, and she lives on the other side of the world, you know, which is super cool. So we've all really connected and found common ground and to support each other as small business owners. And Maya, it's like we're passing the torch, because when I first met Faith, she was pregnant with her second, and then I was pregnant in our group, and now Maya's pregnant as well, which is super fun.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So it's like we're passing this torch down, and we can support each other, you know. And Maya went and like she's doing some floats now, you know, while she's pregnant, and
on the other side of the world, like
on the other side of the world,
to like learn about it and hear about it through you, and then find that she's in Northern California, and so she's now floating with her baby in Northern California. And she's, I think, due in like 4 weeks, like a month or something.
Yeah, she's almost there. So fast. Yeah.
So cool. Yeah. And so same with like, you know, we'd get the bump update from Dee and then baby, and then we got bump update from from Maya. And then also, you know, and you know, for anyone listening, it's Maya spelled differently, but then also Dee named her little baby Maya spelled differently. But that was really fun, because then it was like we had 2 Mayas on the call.
And passing it on. Yeah.
So neat. Yeah. And so, and I think that's been really neat. I know that Faith remarked about that as well, is just like the connection and the bonds that are created in a group, and how, even though something I see certainly as, kind of facilitating it and being the coach and supporting you all individually, is that no matter where you are in your business, there's still so many tenets that run through, like, even if you're, to those who are kind of more just starting, or to those who have been in it for a long time, there's a lot about, setting boundaries, standing in your value, and knowing who you are. And, so speak to some of those things that, you really feel like that maybe you worked on in the group, and that really you felt supported in by the group.
Boundaries was definitely a big one. Especially at the start of like, how do I set these boundaries of working with my husband, being pregnant, and being wife and mom, or, being at home.
Yeah.
And that was really important. And that was really great to hear and I actually was more supported through the group, and then through our one-on-one calls with you, that I was able to set those boundaries and then to have that conversation with Kieran, even though we were in the group together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So that was a big part.
There's something to be said for, like, it's almost like when you see that, first of all, not the least of which is like so reassuring that, other people are having these challenges too, and that you're not alone in feeling the way that you feel sometimes in business. Right. But then also to watch how other people are processing it, or how they are going through it. And then the things that they do, even they're like small wins, like, okay, I did this, I sent this off to this client, or I stood up to this and I spoke up for my needs. And then being able just to have that reflection also gives you somehow like this permission and strength within you of like, okay, if she did it, I can do it. Or, did you find that as well?
Yeah, it could be even super small. Like, because honestly, there were weeks where I'm like, I don't know, my win is that I had a shower today. Like, and I like answered 3 emails.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, that was enough to celebrate,
Yeah. Being able to celebrate it. Like, that's a big thing that we, I create space for in the group, is it's so important to be able to celebrate and have a space to celebrate, because, with people who get your world and get what all goes into creating those wins. But so often as an entrepreneur in our lives, we're just looking at all the things that we haven't done yet, or all the things we want to do. And so to be able to stop and celebrate those wins is huge. It's such a crucial part of it.
Yeah, for sure. It was like every week before it, like the night before a call, it was like, oh man, okay, what am I coming up against this week? What am I going to share that I'm celebrating? Like, what do I need help with? And just to be ready to share that. It was like a weekly, like, stop, like a weekly, like, hit the pause button, and then you could carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. I call it like the mile marker, because like you can easily go for like a week or 2 or a month or even 6 months. I mean, there's people, there's times that things you can kind of fall asleep or forget what your priorities were. But in a group, you've got people who are like, hey, by the way, how'd that thing go? And hey, did you end up finishing that? And you're like, right, that's right, I'm on that, and so it's this mile marker that doesn't let you fall asleep for too long or get derailed for too long, because you got to show up to the call, which as an entrepreneur is half of it, showing up every day and recommitting. So, that's something that I saw you guys do every single week, showing up, and that's how you make progress. And then like learning to love yourself and be patient with yourself and show up and recommit. Right.
Yeah, for sure. When you talk about standing in your own power, like that was such a struggle for me, like just coming back, and coming back to teach, and wanting to pursue that full time, and letting go of the reins a bit at Float On, because what drives me is teaching, it's what drives me the most. Yeah. But I had so much of myself standing in my own way. But through our calls and we worked through a lot of that. So thank you for helping me stand back in it and just rock it.
Yeah. And because ultimately, and this is my whole vision for this year as well, but I mean, it very much was last year, but I feel like I now have words around it, which is this like double down on your genius. So much of this is about, and you've heard me so many times on the calls last year, like, let's just check into where you might be trying to do this square peg round hole, not working in your strengths. Like, no wonder it's not working if you're trying to do stuff that is really not, not your strengths, or not what, it's like we can try to learn everything and do everything, but, ultimately really looking at what our strengths are, that's when things are going to start flowing. So you really took that and I feel like have embodied that so big time by, there's ultimately a search that says, what lights me up the most, what is so easy and goes in so flow, no problem. And you did that, and you were like, yoga is what makes me happy, yoga is what lights me up. And so you did, and here you are, and you've just even seen that as you follow that again, but now in this whole new realm, in this whole new chapter, I've just seen you like continue to blossom and be like, oh my God, yes. And then it's now created like the reset retreat and working with mommies and babies and everything.
Yeah, actually, and I don't think I've shared this with you yet because we only just finalized the paperwork yesterday, but Nadine and myself, so we co-founded and run SEP Yoga Hong Kong together. We are now officially the training school for Hong Kong. So we're
huge. That's
SEP Yoga master trainers. So,
wow. So anyone who wants to become a SEP Yoga instructor can go to SEP Yoga Hong Kong.
They can come straight to us. Yeah, and we can do that. And we're looking at, branching out a little bit more within our region, which is really cool and really exciting. And again, it's going into, working within our genius. What are we really good at? What do I love doing? What drives me? It just flows. Yeah.
Yeah. Big time.
Yeah.
Oh. And I mean, I say this to you all the time, but like, you're just so masterful at holding space and being able to, you're such a connector. And so even a piece of the SEP Yoga Hong Kong, and the more you're able to be, the place in that space, which you have been for a long time, but like, the leaders in that space, what's fun is that they've always had great partnerships. So you've always gotten great sponsor things. So like the UE booms that you get, and these great cases, like waterproof cases, and they had all these like fun things, but it's so perfect because every single person who's going to take a class with you or getting trained with you gets to try these products, and then as they want to continue playing in the water like that, they're like, I tried out this thing at SEP Yoga Hong Kong. And so it's just perfect because you are such a natural connector, and just your ability to facilitate, connections and collaborations. It's just, it makes so much sense. It's perfect. That's so great. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So for someone who might be thinking about stepping in, a few, like one question that I love asking is, you've now had a year of working with me, and me personally as well. And I would love to hear you share, what, even like that reflection of what you think some of my strengths are, and what genuinely, I'd love to hear your feedback of what you think my strengths are and where you have felt most supported by working with me as a coach.
Man, you are so resourceful. Sometimes I feel like too much resources, and you're like, whoa, I can't try them all at once. But that being said, like, I got into Trello because of you. I know about Zoom. I know about Calendly. Like, I know so much stuff because of the wealth of knowledge that you are. And I think that on a practical level as a coach was so important, and obviously the other side of it being that you're so heart-centered, and that you create space for people to like talk about what's actually going on in their life before you dive into like, okay, let's get down to business. What else is going on? You were really great at like directing the way our calls were going. Sometimes I'd be like, but Willow, this is going on. And you're like, okay, we can talk about this later. We'll hang out and like have a coffee or a glass of wine. But right now we're going to focus on this because this is what our time is for. And that was really a moment that I remember early on. It was probably one of our first calls where I was like, right, okay, this is how we set the boundaries of like coach friend, you know? Yeah.
And also, or sometimes it'd be like, let's dive in on this on a one-on-one, where I knew we wanted to do, like, we've had some of our one-on-ones because everyone in this small group program, there's group calls, but then there's a handful, like actually about 5 or 6 one-on-ones throughout the year. So I know sometimes we use those one-on-ones as like major emotional support of just needing to like process through what was coming up. And then other times it's like, all right, let's get down to like really creating a list and a plan and a strategy for how you're going to launch this into the world, right?
Yeah. I think our very first call was like definitely an needing emotional support call for us. I like totally remember where I was as well. And then I had another call. It was like after Maya was born, and like, I still have my sticky hair, like on my goal with you, having gone through that process of like, what's my goal for like doing this website? Like, I want to elevate everything that I'm doing, and that's one of the reasons why, I launched this site, and it's somewhere for people to go and find me. And yeah, that was definitely a like focused, strategy call.
Yeah.
So
that's so great. Yeah. I love the resourceful. Yeah. I've got, it's like, I have this, somebody had said once, which I think is so true. It's like this encyclopedia of knowledge that I can pull from, both, in like sort of wisdom and spirituality, but then also like these like super geeky tools and processes and systems that help your business run smoother.
Yeah, totally.
Nice.
Totally.
That's awesome.
I think if people come to you anyway, like probably even through your photo and your website, like they'll know already from looking at your photo, like she's a happy, shiny person. So that's why I'm like, don't they know she's also a geek?
Yeah. Little do you know, she's super nerdy.
She's also a geek. Yeah.
Yeah. And then also, one more question is, I'm curious, should someone be interested in stepping in, and kind of now that you've had this year of support and didn't know really, I think many people don't really know what to expect when they're stepping in. There's a bit of a leap, just like anything in our business. There's a bit of a leap of like, okay, I think I trust this person and this seems pretty good, but you don't really know what it's going to be like. And so I'm curious for you to share, those who may even be considering hiring a coach or stepping in with me. What would you say even about the financial investment and sort of what you've learned now about what that financial investment has meant for you in the last year?
Okay. Well, when we look at it, when we were deciding whether or not to do this, it was like, could we put our money and invest it into somebody else to do the job? Or could we invest it into ourselves and to do this job and to really understand our business and what we're doing? And so when we looked at it on a whole and what we would be spending on hiring somebody else to do it versus us being the ones to hold the reins and understand the ins and outs of our business, it made sense for us to be the ones to do it. So that's why the commitment was there. Yeah. Even though for, almost half that time I wasn't working. Yeah. And it was tough. It was really tough, but it was also useful to have the support and to getting those tools, even if it was just learning about a tool and then going online and spending that week, like learning about it, and just getting different. Okay. So like an example would be the newsletter platform that we were using was kind of archaic, and like, it's great if you're just starting out, but then, you really opened the doors to these different ones that we could look at and use that gave us so much visibility, so much more clarity. And, we're still trying to figure out how to use them, but it's great that we're the ones doing it because we know what we want it to do.
Yeah. Than
to just, send something and not have any data to find out what works.
Yeah. I mean, something that so yes, you stepped in for you guys to be doing the work, which to me really speaks to the fact that this, running your business and especially in this brand new business for you guys, to have this physical location and kind of a whole new type of business, that there is an element of it which is like your own becoming that leader in that business. So, you still have had staff, but it's also then you're able to have this, place to come to, this safe space to come to, going, okay, we're having challenges with the staff and how do we communicate with them? Or we're having, needing to figure this out, or how we manage these, all those things. So like, even speaking to that, I'm curious to hear how it was beneficial for you in even being kind of managers and founders.
Yeah, for sure. Like we learned how to handle the relationships with our team and like how to motivate them, how to sit down and like use the tools that we have to share with them and like find out from them, like, where is it that you want to go? Or like, how could we empower our staff, to own pieces of the business so that we weren't just doing it all, and it really allowed us to be okay to sit down and share and be vulnerable as leaders. And it really put us on the same level with our team. And so we have better communication. That's something we work on all the time. And like, I think our communication is even better now, because we're like on this chat group together and it's like, hey, this happens. Like, what should we do? It's like in the moment. And that's one of the groups that we'll always reply to no matter what time of the day or night, because our business is also our baby. Yeah. And I think, if somebody's coming to you, like, you're an entrepreneur, you want to know the ins and outs of your business, and like, you'll get the support you need to not just run your business, but like, how do you manage the people, the clients even? Yeah.
Yeah. And I've really seen that with you guys, because I think what happens all too often is, we lean on our teams a lot. But, ultimately, in your case in particular, they're employees and they're looking to you to tell them what to do and how to do it. And so, yeah, sometimes you can absolutely have some awesome employees that, come to the table and say, hey, we could do this. But, ultimately you're still the boss, you're still the CEO and the founder that has to be making the decisions. And so I think that's what I see, certainly in a lot of my clients, which is that instead of relying, because that whole lens that you just shared is like, yes, you could just invest this into somebody else, but you're still going to need to figure it out. And so I think all too often people will lean on the implementers to advise them, but for you to have support as the founder, as the managers, and, get that insight and strategy that's high level, and then be able to come back to your team, it makes those relationships and that productivity so much more efficient.
For sure. And then it got to a point where we did have to hire, and we actually went through like staff changes since we started the group call. Like, we had one who had to leave Hong Kong, and then we had to find somebody else like almost right away, because it was somebody who was part of our original team. And then me letting go of the reins a little bit, having to hire somebody else to take on some of the work, and going through more changes again. But that's just part of the process of running your business, Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's all the growing pains too. And, something I think I'd actually even be curious, like, one thing that, I certainly know to be true. And I think that sometimes people don't know in the beginning, because we've got, high hopes and big visions and everything, is that we want everything to happen so fast. And the truth is that, things take time. Our own evolving and learning and growing takes time. And, that's where like the self-acceptance and the self-compassion is like crucial to this journey. And so I'm curious actually to hear from you, is like, if you could go back and tell yourself anything, a year ago, or at any time, I suppose, like in this year, that now to be true, what would be your advice for yourself?
Where do I start? Just because you've had a baby doesn't mean that you're no longer a great teacher. Yeah. Just because your physical body has gone through this traumatic thing doesn't mean that you don't remember how to move it or how things should be. And those were kind of big ones. But also, everything will work out. Everything will work out. Yeah, as bad as it may seem in the moment, we definitely went through a really, really, really rough time last year in our business while we were in the small group coaching calls. And like not knowing if we could continue on, basically, because we like dove in first with passion. And maybe we could have done a little bit more research, but we just really believe in what we're doing. And it is really turning around. So like we're really seeing more people coming and people getting the benefits of it, and more people knowing about it. And sure, there are even other float centers that have opened since us, which is great.
Yeah,
because we can't serve all of Hong Kong right now. But we're just going to keep focusing on what we want to do and help people out of pain.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, tell people who are watching where they can learn more about who you are and what you're offering. And I'm even curious, for those who are watching this all around the world, like how they might be able to get involved in what you do. So, both speak to those who are watching in Hong Kong, but then also for all the people who are watching around the world.
Okay. So for those of you in Hong Kong, and anywhere in the world, if you want to know about me, because I did launch my website, it's DeeCheung.com. So just DeeCheung.com. And there you'll find out more about how the other things got started. And I have an events listing on my website as well on the retreats that I've got coming up. And actually I should put our teacher trainings up there too. Yeah. So we've got some trainings happening in Hong Kong this year, which is exciting.
Yeah.
I can share that officially. And anywhere else in the world, well, Willow, you might not even know this yet, but I'm actually looking at hosting retreats outside of Hong Kong this year and next year. So anybody in Europe, I think my biggest challenge
that's right. You did mention that to me on our last call.
Finding if you know any spaces that have at least a dozen sup boards and some beautiful water and maybe even some scuba diving, reach out to me, tell me. I'd love to hop on a Skype call with you, or you can show me around your space. And look forward to a retreat with me outside of Hong Kong. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And then also for those who are in Hong Kong, obviously, on her website has all this information, but to definitely check out Float On Hong Kong. And so lots of different opportunities to get involved with you. And I am so excited to watch the continuing unfolding and blossoming of all that you do. I'm one of your biggest fans and just adore you and feel honestly like truly so excited for anyone who gets to experience you and your teaching and just your presence, your ability to guide people through is so healing and loving, and it's a real gift. And so I'm so happy to see you shining and sharing it with the world.
Thank you so much, Willow. Thanks for nurturing that.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. To learn all about the work I do with visionary entrepreneurs around the world, and to access more inspiring videos and helpful resources for you on your path, be sure to visit willowlovesyou.com.